Afternoon to those of you all who are joining in through our YouTube channel. It's a pleasure to have you all on joined, at least virtually. We would love to have had everyone at a single place, but as you know, it's logistically not possible to have all of you all. And plus, we still need to attend to our customers. All right. So I would like to invite Varadaraj to start our session this afternoon and take us through the initial introduction before we begin it. So Vardu, please come over.
Thank you, Clarence. Good afternoon, everyone. That's it. Respected Chairman, fellow members of the board, all my dear colleagues from our various international and Indian offices who have joined virtually, and all those who are present here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's an honor for me to be present here today, standing in front of you on this historic day, hosting this session, which is probably one of the most important sessions for the organization. It is in the year 1936 that our founder, Mr. Paul ABRAO, the visionary, who started this journey. Today, after 86 years, when we reminisce our journey and our achievements, we feel proud about it. Today, the group offers a gamut of services in logistics segment, adding more as we expand. The success and sustainability of any organization depends on constantly reviewing yourself, redefining ourselves. It is like you have to shift the gear to gain that momentum to move forward and expand globally. It is important for all of us that we come to work every day full of purpose, conviction, and be passionately committed about what we do. Every stakeholder has to know the very purpose of existence of this organization so that we all can align ourselves to same. Today, the next hour is devoted to this very important phase of our journey. We have our entire senior management of ABRAO Group present here and share with you their thoughts on the same. So on this note, I now invite Mr. George ABRAO, Chairman of ABRAO Group of Companies, to share the vision for our organization. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. George ABRAO, for you.
Thank you, Vardu, for that introduction. Uh, Allow me to welcome each of you, my colleagues here, to this wonderful garden city of India called Bangalore. To those of you who are online, a warm welcome to this town hall, which is, as Mr. Vardu said, a very, very important occasion for us, because there is a lot that is going to happen today and over the next 2 days. And as senior management, the very purpose that you are here today defines what the expectation the management has for you. I got into the business in 1984. That was a good 38 years ago. I was made to go through a complete study of how the business is done, particularly focused on operations. So I was put with our stevedoring people because that was the core of where the action happened. We were in shipping, and anything that has to happen with shipping starts with the foundation of where the ship and the port is. And that's when a dream got planted. Now, when you talk about dream, you would normally associate dream with sleep. But funnily, dream can also happen when you are awake. And some of those dreams that you actually live happen when you are dreaming and awake. I was on board this ship called the Annapurna. It was a ship operated by APL. I can see Mohan nodding. I was on the hatch top because they were just opening the hatch, and there was a lot of excitement in the terminal because that was a 900 TEU ship. And at that point in time, in 85, that was one of the larger ships that was plying. Until then, we were all operating 400, 450, 500 TEU ships. And I was standing next to one of our staff who is called a winch driver. I don't know how many people would understand the term winch driver or a derrick operator. They are the old cranes in bulk ships and the erstwhile container ship. This person, Momalika, has been with the family. He's seen 3 generations. He started off at a young age as a winch operator with my granddad, then with my dad, and there my dad had put me under him to go through this training on board the ship. With all this excitement, one little sentence or statement that he made to me was in Malayalam, but I will translate it for the benefit of all in English. When is the day when we can have our own ship and I can stand? That is something that hit me, and I said to myself, not immediately, but later on, that evening, this is something that we should look at. And that's the journey of the dream that started. And I'm so happy and proud that that one little statement of a person called Momalika was the seed to what we see today. One could never imagine, one could never fathom that something as small as or trivial as this could change what we are as an organization. We were an organization which was very much restricted to Cochin, Kerala and Kerala. as a stevedore, as a customs broker. But those words stayed on in my mind, and I started dreaming. I started dreaming about becoming big and being something that we were not. It started off with me deciding to move to Bombay, and then the journey started. It has been a wonderful journey for these last 37 years. All the success that we have enjoyed today has only been purely because of one thing: the people that have been around. I cannot ignore, nor can I be without acknowledging the fact, the contribution that a lot of you have made into making this organization what it is, with your commitment, with your loyalty, and with your sheer passion for what you're doing. Thanks to this, from being an agency, we were able to go into having our own containers, buying that ship. My only regret is Momalika was not there when that ship reached Cochin one day and went to the same terminal. What a joy it would have been for him to have seen the ABRAO standing right there in Cochin. We have been through this journey now, and as I said, 37 years have been a journey of my dream. A dream in which each of you all have been a part of. Today, that dream has to move. And that dream has to move from a dream to getting it into a vision, which is something that we will have to roll out. There is a very fine line between a dream and a vision. Dreams are simply drifting imaginations, whilst a vision is a scripted effort to actually effect the change that is required. Something that I've always advocated in all our meetings is that change is the only constant. And the moment you are ready to adapt to change, then the world is your playground. Therefore, my request to all of you is to now be a part of this vision that we have for this organization. As you would probably see from the website, you will find that our vision has 3 key elements to it. Agility, that is to be agile. The second one is to be innovative. And the third is to be a technology leader. Why I'm smiling is because it is only 3 days ago that in our group, the India Network, I put a video, WhatsApp video. And it is with a purpose that I put that video. I wanted people sitting here today to realize the importance of being innovative. How a 9 or 10-year-old boy used his imagination to create something as simple as a flashing torchlight that could save his cattle. in Kenya. So, going forward, whilst we are agile and we become innovative in what we do, we do not want to be followers. We want to be the leaders in deriving the best practices, the best solutions for us and for the industry. That is what we want to be. We want to be the leader in giving innovative solutions to the industry as well as to our customers. To achieve all this, I mean, it's a no-brainer that there is only one thing today that can help, and that is technology. Technology is something that we have invested in for the longest of time. I think, as early as 89, when the first Wipro computers came in, we got into it. When they started writing codes, we were there, even much before our principals, to have our own software. So that is the level of importance that we have given to technology, and that will continue to go. Having been through this business, we have realized that the future of the organization lies in two domains or two areas. And that is where the focus is going to be. I am proud and happy to say that in the year 2022, we closed with a turnover of 870 crores. And that is not a small achievement. It is a global turnover that we have. So from a company which was traditionally in Kerala to having 21 offices across the country and 4 offices, own offices spread across the globe, and an array of network partners spread across 14 countries, I don't think is a mean achievement. There is a lot for each of you here in this room to be proud of. You are a part of a global company. And that is something that needs to sink into each of you, because if not for you, that would not have been achievable. So the two areas that I have a vision for is our logistics division, and the second one is our liner division. These are the two areas where we are going to have our thrust and our focus. So the first thing that I would like to share with all of you today is that having achieved 870 crores, achieving 3,000 crores in the next 3 years is not a really difficult task. And therefore, we have to benchmark and set ourselves to do a turnover of 3,000 crores. And what and how do we achieve it? While I will share the vision, I think the mission on achieving, I will leave it to Lenny. So, when it comes to the liner, we are very clear in the next 3 years, from our current fleet of about 11,500 TUs, we will go to around 60,000 TUs as a fleet size, both dry as well as reefers. We will participate in 2 segments of the business, and those 2 segments are: one, domestic coastal business, which is something which is very, very close to my heart, and which is something that we've been pursuing and trying to do for the last few years. So coastal business, we will ensure that we will have our own tonnage, and I would see that at least 3 ships are put for dedicated for the coastal run. On the EXIM, I would look at ensuring we have at least a minimum of 4, if not 5 ships, so that we have services covering the current geography that we operate in. We have, in the last 2 months, looked at various ways how, after being a strong player in the Far East, Southeast Asia and Indian segment, now looking at how we can expand ourselves to the western part of the world. A lot has happened. We are making headway, and we have a team which is working on it, and I definitely know that we will taste sweet success very soon. Having said that, when we move to the next segment, which is the total logistics, we are pleased that today in our midst we have somebody who's come in with a lot of experience, and therefore I expect that this business will see a remarkable growth. When we say logistics, we will segment it to warehousing, we'll segment it to cold chain and cold store facilities. We will also look at how we can provide end-to-end solution, which covers the first mile and the last mile for our customers. And unless we do this, where we involve ourselves with, whether it is the customs clearance or the duty payment, we will not have control of the cargo. And if we don't have control of the cargo, we will not be able to grow the liner the way we have visioned the growth for it. So please look at how we find ourselves fitting into the slot to plan this development that we have visioned for the next 3 years and take it another 2 years. We will review after 3 years how we need to progress it to 5 years. As I said, all of you have been a part of this journey, and all of you have helped me achieve the dream that I was carrying on. The period for dreaming is over. Now it is the time for us to take the vision forward and to help achieve that vision succeed whilst we have you here. Over the last few months, early years, we have brought in more people who we feel can contribute to helping us achieve that success we are looking for and reaching where we have visioned ourselves to be in the next 3 years. I have moved to Dubai, and I am sure the value that I will be able to add sitting in Dubai for this vision to be a success will be immense. But I must also thank Lenny for having been a big support all these years in ensuring that what we have today has been something that we can look back and be proud of. He's been a very strong support, and having become the managing director for the group now, it's easy for me to give a vision, but I know how difficult it is when it comes to having to roll it out. I have been through it myself. I had Mr. Murli always coming and throwing numbers at me and saying that we have to do this. And then he vanishes, and then I am sitting and trying to figure out how to manage those numbers. And that's exactly what I plan to do. I will vanish, and I will leave it in the safe hands of Lenny and the team, the wonderful team that we have, in ensuring that the vision that we have carved out for the group is achieved. Before I end, I would like to pray that each of you and your families will be abundantly blessed by the Almighty, and that each of you will continue to be given the strength that is required for us to take this dream, now a vision, forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us this direction which is needed. The goals and the aspirations are very clearly set, defined, and explained by you to all of us. The big picture of where we want to be has been beautifully put forward by you. I fully concur. We have a phenomenal team sitting here, and of course all those who have joined us virtually. Nothing is impossible and nothing is short for us. As a manager, when I stand here, it is really very inspiring to hear. And it's very inspiring, and it gives a tremendous amount of confidence to me, and I'm sure all my colleagues here, that we have such a support, we have such a direction, and we are all so very proud of it. And I'm sure we will make you proud of it in days to come. A new journey begins for us now. From this moment, we have something more to look forward to. We are here, and it is very important for us to know how are we going to reach there? How are we going to achieve our vision? How are we going to align ourselves for same? And to take us through this journey, I invite our Managing Director, Mr. Lenny ABRAO here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lenny ABRAO for you.
So we heard a wonderful vision from the visionary that George ABRAO is. Believe me, he's one person who will make this happen. And we are all here to ensure that it happens. We have, as both Vardu and George has already said, a wonderful set of people who can make this magic happen, can take us to where our chairman has envisioned this organization to reach. And I only wish that we could do it faster than what the timelines that he has set for us. And I think that is the challenge that we as a group in this room and the team that works with all of us can achieve and we should do. One of the constant things that George always mentions in the meeting and what he referred to is change is the only constant. And that's something we all very clearly understand and know. We also know that disruptions will always be there. As an organization, we have gone through many disruptions. We've had to stop doing businesses which were giving 95% or 90% of our revenues. And I think the fact is that we managed those disruptions, and that is why we have survived 86 long years. We have grown through these years, and today we are at an inflection point, as both George and Vardu said. When you are at this point, you have to see how you can change the growth momentum for the organization. So one of the best ways to do it is to expand what you're doing. And that can happen with a simple thing like adding a new sector to something we already do. You want to grow faster, you start a new business altogether. You want to grow even faster, what would you do? You would set up a whole new business which by itself will be an accelerator. And this today is what we have as our first mission, which is to augment growth through new service offerings. Why are we trying to be an end-to-end solution provider today? As George very clearly put it, an end-to-end solution provider controls the cargo. How we do that in the most efficient way and in the best way and at the right price will determine the flow of cargo to us. So we need to really differentiate ourselves. We have to work towards providing end-to-end solutions for all our customers. We enhance our customer base because today we are in a position to provide a complete logistics solution. And as the chairman very rightly said, it is how we slot what services we have today into the supply chain that will help us to have that accelerated growth. And another important thing about doing this is also to expand your geographies. If it means getting into new sectors where you have not gone, if it means connecting customers across the globe, then we will do that. We have opportunities today for cross-trade, which means you can carry cargo from anywhere in the world to anywhere in the world, and the business is controlled by your customer. So this is also what we as a strategy will do. We will drive our global expansion through provision of holistic solutions. So that is the next second way we will have this accelerated growth and achieving those milestones. We should never forget our customers. We wouldn't be here if we don't have our customers. One of our purposes is to add and this is also an element of innovation. By bringing about improvement in the way we do things for the customer and the way we enhance the customer experience is what brings in customer loyalty. Can we listen to our customers and understand their needs? Can we address their requirements? Please remember and know with confidence that we have a lot of experience and knowledge and resource at our disposal. Our team comes with a whole wealth of experience, domain expertise. We have technology at our disposal. So what remains is for us to ensure that this is all working for the benefit of our customer. So we will enhance our customer value through innovation and, as I said, digital transformation. And we are already seeing the results of this in many different ways. Now, this is not possible without our people being taken care of. And how do we take care of our people? We take care of our people by making sure they enjoy coming to the office every day. And that is left to each one of us sitting here and your teams to ensure that they are all on a path of self-improvement, that they are learning something new every day. And that is so critical. We need to make the people we work with engaged. We need to make the people who work with us feel that they belong, that they can grow, that they can develop while they are with us. They have to be passionate about what they do, and that can come only when they are engaged, when they feel taken care of. And believe me, it's not just about money. It's about the environment we create for them in the workplace. And that is something each of you is responsible for with your teams. And that is the only way we can create an enriching experience for our employees and our partners. How do we create enriching experience for our partners? We do that by making sure they get the best delivery on the investments they do for us, whether it is by way of a slot they provide us, or a service they provide us, or the containers they entrust with us. We have to ensure the vessels go full at the best freight rate possible, right? The very fact that today we have enduring relationships with our partners is testament to how we have been managing this. And a credit for this and the ethos that has been created by our chairman is not to be disregarded or not to be made trivial. His mentorship on this has been tremendous. He has been very clear, and this is something I was sharing with another principal of ours, when I said, George's philosophy is very simple. You grow when your partner grows. And that is something that all of us have imbibed, and we continue to grow along with our partners so that the partnerships endure, the partnerships flourish. So this, my dear colleagues, is the mission that we have. But a mission statement is not just something that you write about and then forget. This is something which becomes, as Stephen Covey said, our constitution, right? It has to become the criterion by which we measure everything that we do. Does all this fit in with what we are doing today? Does our mission permeate into what we do? If not, this is the time we take a hard look as to why we are here, what we do, and only then can we reach where our chairman has set as his vision. We have to make every moment count and every day matter. And we have to not just think of 3 years, but we have to think of another 86 years, right? That is what we are all here for, to have an enduring legacy. It has to be an organization that grows and grows well. A sustainable growth, that at each point there is a disruption, we are able to adapt, to adopt, to change, and go to the next growth phase. And of course, what apart from the vision and the mission will help us are the values on which not only the organization is built, but upon the way we deal not just with our co-workers or our partners, but also how we deal with ourselves. Because these are the values that we need to have internally also. If not, like I said earlier, it can be just something that is just there on paper or maybe on a AV screen or as a part of a corporate video. No, that's not the point. The point is, these are the values with which we have to come in each day, understand this is what we are, this is how we do things, and this is how we can then be successful in whatever we do. I'm not going to speak about the values because I feel better qualified than me are our veterans from within our organization, employees who will live these values and demonstrate to us these values because they are working more closely with all of you all. So, Vardhu, you can come over to introduce our people who would be discussing the values in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenny, for very clearly giving us a roadmap for realizing the vision put forward to us by our chairman. You very clearly spelled what we have to do to be there. The direction is set here very clearly, and it's a process. We have to follow this process. I'm sure all of us notice some very, very key words being spoken by both Mr. George and Mr. Lenny, and we spoke about being agile, we spoke about being innovative, we spoke about customer experience, the digital transformations. I think all of us has to sit back and think very deeply. What do they mean in real terms? A lot has been explained by both our chairman and our managing director, but it is on every single individual sitting here and all those who are connected to sit down and think and put their thoughts and have a very meaningful discussion with the senior management what their understanding of this is and how are we going to achieve or move forward. I really love the way Lenny put, we would like to do it faster than what we have envisaged. Fantastic. And this is what he would love, the chairman would love, all of us love to achieve faster than what we have put forward. This is. On a lighter side, if we achieve faster, we can have one more event like this earlier than expected. Good. Having established our vision and mission, it is very important for us to know how will we behave in this journey. What are those deeply ingrained principles that will drive the company's actions? The values serve as the cultural cornerstone for the organization. They can never be compromised, either for a short-term gain or for convenience. So what we find being put in screen here are so very important that we have to live it. We have to live it every day, every minute in our life. For our next phase, to take us through this journey, I will call upon some of our senior colleagues, the leaders of the organization, to take us through. And first, I think we have a short video to be played. We have our senior colleague, Mr. Anuj Bajaj, who for some personal reasons couldn't be present today, but has been very kind to record what he would like to say and share with you here.
I feel very honored and privileged to have been asked by Mr. George to introduce one of the core values of the organization to everyone during this town hall. So I'll just read out the core value of ownership and accountability. Our company must be truly ours in every sense. Each one of us shall take the ownership of the work we do and understand that our actions and initiatives are responsible for the overall growth of the company. With ownership comes responsibility, that is, being accountable for the results of your own actions. Just to give a small example of what is being accountable. Now, some people may think that being accountable is to be held responsible, to be able to fix a blame. No, it's not that. One of the examples of being accountable is to be able to honestly admit our mistakes and errors. This helps us in improving our work and how to grow the company further so that these mistakes are not committed again. In our marine work, we do a lot of study of such errors and mistakes, such as near misses, incidents, etc., to be able to improve our work so that we can prevent that one possible accident. So, it is very important to be able to admit, learn, and rectify our mistakes. That is being accountable and responsible in the true sense. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Anuj. I now invite Mr. Raju Anthony to come here, please.
A warm good afternoon to the ABRAO family. It's indeed my honor to state the next core value, ethics and transparency. Friends, ethics and value system is the foundation of our group. We need to understand what is business ethics. Business ethics refers to standards of morally right conduct of doing business. Now, this needs to be differentiated from being legally correct. You need to be very clear about it. Being morally right and being legally right. We are speaking about being morally right. Our conduct and dealings should follow the highest ethical standards. A very common example I can give in shipping, I think this is something we commonly hear among sales operations, receiving bribes from customers for giving special rates, preferential allotments, working out waivers. And the other dimension in operations we hear, oh, we selected certain vendors, as a preferred vendor. And this is a preferential appointment. Or accepting substandard deliverables. Or maybe even passing over invoicing. Friends, these are the most common examples of a very unethical behavior. The other side of the coin of ethics is transparency. You both need to go hand in hand. And friends, transparency in many sense is the bedrock of ethics. You can't have one without the other. In all our interactions with everyone, be it your colleagues, be it your customers, be it your regulatory bodies, any external, internal stakeholders you may name, transparency and honesty must be maintained. And more importantly, and this I speak is, normally we have a passive sense, I am not wrong, but if I witness something wrong, I'll be silent about it. And this is the second aspect of transparency. Unethical practices that are observed needs to be reported. And I'll drive to the same example that I spoke about ethics and try to explain transparency. If you were to receive an offer for bribe, being transparent would mean you're reporting to your reporting hierarchy or your HR in the absence of one, that listen, so-and-so customer or vendor has approached me, reporting it. And and this requires a little element of strength and courage, is if you witness and you have strong reasons and you really witness unethical behavior somewhere else within your colleagues, you need to also report that. And this becomes a framework of being a whistleblower. That's, my friend, the value that we wanted to bring about ethics and transparency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raju. Ethics and transparency, so very close and personal for me too, very close to my heart. And I think you put some very examples which are so very known to all of us in this trade. And people in this industry, we also know it's so very difficult to keep head above waters, especially on this count. Sometimes your positions are such, you're vulnerable to so many accusations. Even when you're so honest and where your integrity is highest and you're morally very clear, the unwanted, the unceremonious people try to take advantage of same. But believe me, it is difficult. But when you follow to your conscience, you will sail through all this difficult situation and come out well. I think it's so very, I'm not saying it's not relevant for other businesses, but especially in the kind of business we are, this is very, very important for us to understand this in real terms and follow it to the core. And I think when Raju said ethics and transparency go together, I think we must understand that's the word transparency is so very important. which will keep you in a happy phase. With this, for our next value, I invite Mr. Deepak Chahar.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm going to talk about excellence and creativity. Excellence and creativity should be at the core of all our solutions that we provide to both internal and our external customers. These values are very deeply intertwined. While creativity makes us agile, makes us smart, makes us innovative, the zeal for achieving excellence enhances the customer experience, exceeding customer expectations and providing quick responses and resolution. All of us in the group have that opportunity to think out of the box, to provide those different solutions that our MD spoke about. In today's day and age, in the shipping world, there is very little product differentiation between what we do and what someone else does. And that is where we need to hear, listen, understand, think, and then devise that solution. But more importantly, illustrate it to the customer in a very clear, crisp, and concise manner. But then comes delivery, right? And after that, for example, first time write invoices. All this put together gives the customer a great deal of confidence that this is an organization with a good team, with the required skill sets that I can really trust and entrust all my business to. So next time he has a problem, he has a logistics problem, or he has a new business that he wants to entrust someone, he picks up the phone and he calls Prasad, says, Prasad, come over. I want to discuss new business with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you for taking us through this important value. And he explained beautifully what it means and how it should be perceived. I just want to add one thing. Please do not overpromise your customer. There is nothing wrong. Nothing wrong in telling him what we can do, but what you promise, you achieve. In my view, that's excellence, because that's what we are here for. Do not keep your customers in dark. Do not worry that if you don't say this or don't say this, you will not get business. But it is our job to provide what he wants, but not to tell him something which we can't deliver. I think that's a sort of a differentiation we should very clearly make for ourselves, and let that be a big differentiator for us in our organization. Moving on, I now invite Mrs. Shubhasina to come over and take us through the next value.
Thank you. With human resources as my domain, my core, it is my privilege and great pleasure and honor to present respect and care as one of the company's core values. At ABRAO Group, all the employees are treated with respect, care, and attention. And this is irrespective of their designations or tenure at the company. And I'm sure each one of us will vouch for that. This also gets signified in our various people policies. When we say people policies, let's take an example of our corporate Mediclaim, which offers a common coverage for all the employees. And when I say all the employees, right from a trainee or an executive, right up to the chairman, we have the same coverage. And it doesn't just end there. We take utmost care to select our insurance service provider and our third-party agent so that our employees and their families get all the administrative support at the hospitals, and they can take care of their loved ones, and they don't have to be doing the running around trying to get their claims settled. So that is where we see respect and care. We also strive, the company strives to provide a healthy work environment and a safe work environment for all. And the last almost 3 years now is what we see how the company has taken so much of care, be it a safe work environment, the hygiene factors, working from home arrangements, and the COVID vaccination drives and reimbursements. So, as employees of ABRAO Group, it is our responsibility now to treat our vendors, customers, partners, and stakeholders with respect and care. Thank you.
Thank you, Shubha. In fact, my own personal experience is on the example which she gave on Medic. When I came and joined, when I was looking at it, it was such a pleasant surprise to see there is no differentiation on the type of coverage you have, whether you're a director, or you're a manager, or an executive, or you're anybody else attached. Phenomenal thought process. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Managing Director. This speaks volume for an organization. This speaks of how much we value every individual. It's not that just because you're designated at a certain level, you're entitled to a benefit on a certain place while someone else has to go somewhere else. Outstanding. I mean, you just stole my heart on that day. Thank you indeed. And it was really touching. It was really, really touching because that speaks volumes of the organization. Respect and care, as she rightly put, she comes from handling a function which has so much to do on this. The respect for each other is the core. Under any circumstances and under any situation, we cannot forget this thumb rule. Whoever is there and whatever they are doing, on the back of the mind, they are very clear. This is right for the organization, and that is why he is doing. Now, if we may not see it in that way, and we may disagree, it is fine. But in that case, we should agree to disagree, but not question the person's intentions at that point of time. And according to me, that is respect. Respect what he thinks is right from his angle, and he is doing because he thinks that's good for the organization. And let's respect this from our heart and appreciate this. Now, for us, last value part of it, I call upon Mr. Mohan Aibe.
We've talked about the four core values before, and I just wanted to say that when you add up all that, passion and unity actually becomes a part of you when you take those four core values before. So at ABRAO Group, we foster passion through encouragement, motivation, enabling continuous learning, and self-improvement, leading to outcomes that our customers appreciate. We strongly believe that together, everybody achieves more. Team. Collaboration within and across the departments are a norm. Everybody contributes to achieve better outcomes, leading to a shared success. It's what we do together and what we actually come out with is what is important. And that, I think, is a very strong statement. If you're passionate about what you do, you anticipate problems even before they arise. And it suddenly becomes no longer a problem. If the problem still does arise, the ABRAO team is a unified team that will find a solution together and to everyone's satisfaction. That's basically what I have to say about value number 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohan. For all of you who've been attending this session, for some of you, a thought may cross your mind. How did all these statesmen came in? What happened in this journey? Was it just people Googled few nice looking words? People thought about copying so many other statements and just put it across to make it look nice and flowery? No. It was a long drawn effort put in by your entire senior management. They put in hours and hours of time to come together at a time when we were not physically meeting, so we were virtually meeting. Of course, we did engage a consultant who could facilitate this for us. So we had Deloitte joining us, facilitating this exercise. But the entire effort and the entire thought process, and finally, putting it in this concise manner was done by the entire leadership team sitting here. So I would like to give a big round of applause to all of you guys. These statements found the foundation of all activities of the organization. They provide us a direction, and everyone has to be focused on what the organization is wanting to achieve. What we want to achieve, how we want to achieve, how we are going to behave during this journey have been discussed by our leadership team. We are all here standing, listening for the past 1 hour about this. Now, having got this clarity from our leadership, I will now leave you all to think about it, absorb what you did, and practice it. And before we move on to the next session, Chairman, with your permission, if anybody else wants to share some thoughts, we can call because we have some time in hand. So if you have permission, if any but he wants to say something, feel free. You can come over and share your thoughts, share your experience. Anyone would like to share? Please, Raju.
It's been 86 years the group has been through. And in this long journey, I had a short patch. Some wouldn't call it short, 18 years. And it's wonderful that 18 years, we subconsciously did a lot of things. And when I say subconsciously, well, our hearts were into the product. We clearly scaled many of the businesses that we got. We discovered few. We failed many, and terribly failed. I remember one of the business where we said we'll get into a feeder operation. And I take this very specific instance. I was then the finance head. Lenny was still active, and we had a lot of external advisors. Mr. Satya, he was erstwhile the director for Blue Water Lines. And we took a decision that we would invest heavily into this feeder operation. And we felt this was something very different that we are doing. We are carving out some new business dimension, and we were so excited about it. But when we started facing the numbers, and as the operations grew, we reached an inflection point. I think that was the word Lenny used. We reached a point where we felt from here we could only dip. And it wasn't a dip, it was nose diving. We were burning serious cash. Serious means serious cash. And of course, being the number guy, I raised red alarm. I rang all the bells possible. I felt everyone was sleeping and I was the only one awake. Why wasn't anybody seeing this? So I shook the next set of people, Lenny, and I tried every night to convince. I think George is not getting convinced. I think, Lenny, you need to speak to him. And I think Lenny did his bit. Mr. Satya did his bit. Everyone tried their bit to shake this man called Mr. George. And he wouldn't wake up. And we felt we were doomed. And we were still bleeding, and bleeding heavily. And George said, I wish to hold on. And I have firm faith that this will turn around. And lo and behold, the business did turn around. And not only it turned around, it recouped maybe 4 or 5 times we put our money into it. And friends, this characteristic can only come from having a right vision. Having the firm faith that come storm, come anything, I'm going to stand here. I'm going to face this. I'm not going to back out. It's not being foolhardy, trust me. There's a very, there is a difference being foolhardy and having a leap of faith. What I witnessed in my career, I think very few would have that opportunity. I was blessed to see what is called as a leap of faith. I think today in this exhibition of vision and mission and core values, after 86 years, somebody is re-engineering this. And we are thinking again. I think we all need to have that leap of faith in our leadership, our management, and of course in the vision of Mr. George. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raju. I think good decision for me to call you to come here, because I couldn't have ended this session without such a lovely story from your side. It's a life story from our side. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. With this, we come to end of this session. But hang on, hold on. We have a lot coming up. We have a next session coming up where I saw Clarence writing. You have a lot of surprises too. So hang on. Here, Clarence Xavier for you, ladies and gentlemen, with a big round of applause.
Well, good evening, everyone. Before we go on to the actual review of IT operations, there are a few things that is there. The first is just to show you how important we feel about our vision, mission, and core values, right? We wanted to ensure that this is something not just all of us here in the office are seeing it, but even our customers, our partners are able to see it and of course witness it in action. So, I'm sure those in Mumbai and maybe one or two other offices would have seen the earlier vision, mission and core values put up as a poster, right? People have probably forgotten about that. It's become outdated. Yes, it's no more there. So what we thought was it's time to reinvigorate that. And what better way than to look at something more modern technology. And therefore, we decided that rather than going for something like this that you see in front of me, printed, we wanted to have something more modern, digital, and something that is more dynamic. So, we've decided, and I would like to have George come over here to just unveil this, and I will explain what's going to happen. Promote remote in my back. So what you see here is a 32-inch screen, a TV, that is going to be made available at every branch here in India, as well as in Dubai and Kuala Lumpur, where we have our offices. Can you switch it on, Pramod? So just give a moment while the screen boots up. This screen will be wall mounted at a strategic location in your branches. It's going to play our vision, mission, the core values, the 5 core values, and our upcoming corporate video. With this, whenever we've got even new messages, whenever we would like to show some special events, it's going to be possible to connect this to our YouTube channel and have new video clips played on it dynamically. So I'm assuming that you can now see on the screen an animated picture of our vision, mission and core values. So soon after this half-yearly review, Shubha, Sujit and myself will be working together to have this dispatched to your offices. So please make sure you all are identifying a good place to keep this and not something behind a pillar where it gets hidden. And kindly make sure that you've got the necessary support to have it wall mounted, right? So thank you, and we can keep this back in. So let's give them a moment to keep this aside while I go on to the next thing. Okay, let's get back. So now, what we are going to do is to look at our digital channels of marketing. As you know, the website of every company is like a brand ambassador of the organization. It goes there ahead of you, talking about who you are, what you are, and essentially conveying to potential customers, potential partners, potential employees also, what you stand for and what is the kind of business that you do. We worked through the lockdown era with a vendor to look at what is the best way we could convey to our clients, partners, potential partners, potential employees, who we are as an organization, how we are structured, what are the various services we provide, what are the various products we provide, where all we are located. So I'd like to take this to introduce formally our website. So you can see our website over here. I do not know how many of you all have already seen it. Is there anyone who has not seen it? Good. We launched it a few weeks ago. We wanted to check and see if everything is okay, teething issues are taken care of. It's not my intention to go through all the menu options. I would like to request you all, urge you all, go through it. Do please come back if you see something that stands out as not okay. And also, most importantly, please do share it with the customers that you visit, the partners that you visit. We want to make sure that this website gets the necessary visibility and traction and serves as a brand ambassador, because we can't be everywhere every time. Now, some may argue that today website is sparse. It's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. You have so many such social media channels. We debated a lot on which of the social media channels we need to be on. And finally, as Vardhu mentioned, when we spoke with Deloitte, we concluded that Facebook and LinkedIn were the best social media channels for a company like ours to be on actively. So, I'd like to now formally introduce our LinkedIn channel. Now, you can see social media channels are not static, very dynamic, and they can be as dynamic as we want it to be. What that means is we need to keep talking about what we are doing, what we have achieved, some of the awards that we have won, some of the events that we have taken part in, and basically how we as an organization do our work, maybe sometimes have celebrations, parties. And so, this is a call to all of you all. Each of you all are as responsible to contribute to this by posting an article. It is not the job of just the single IT person or Raju or some person X who will be just entering the data, looking at social media channels. At the end of the day, you all know what is the work you all do. You all know what are the achievements we have done or achieved. And it is therefore a request that all of you all actively contribute on this. You never know how this could help us out. There may be a customer who sees this, someone who is more involved or more engaged on social media channels compared to you or me, who will see this, pick this up and say, okay, here is an organization that I would like to work with. Now, while LinkedIn is more for companies and corporates, Facebook is probably a channel which is targeted more to individuals. So, can you please bring up the Facebook channel? So, as you can see here, we've got a Facebook channel. Again, this is a very dynamic channel. It's not a create once and leave it for the rest of our life. It needs to be something that is actively growing. It has a life, and it will have a life as long as we keep feeding it. Meaning, we need to talk about what we have done, what we have achieved, some of our work processes also, to showcase, what is the kind of domain expertise or skills or capabilities that we've got. So again, a request to all of you all, please think of it as a channel where you want to talk about what you have achieved or what you are doing. You may be finding it difficult to find someone who has to fill in a vacant spot in your team. Trying to go through the regular channel of putting an ad in some journal will have its limitations. There may be someone bright looking at such social media channels, looking at such companies who are actively involved in this. And you never know, your next colleague or manager could be someone who is coming through this. So please look at these social media channels as a means to talk about what you have achieved and what you are doing, what your capabilities are. All right? So with that, I'd like to conclude our formal launch of our social media channels. Again, this is a request. Let not this be a channel that we have launched here and forgotten tomorrow. It's got to be something that is alive and kicking, and it can be so only as long as you all feel the need to feed it. Thank you. So with this, we will take a 15-minute break, and we will then regather here for the IT operations review. So those of you all who are online connected, we will reconnect and rejoin in 15 minutes. Okay, sorry. So we will reconnect in 15 minutes and rejoin here. Those of you all who are on the YouTube channel, we bring to an end this session. Thank you so much.
I believe that we should thank the people involved for bringing this together. Being highly technologically challenged, this was not possible without help from Clarence and his team who got this whole thing organized. So thank you, Clarence, for getting this together. But I think one person I want to specially mention is Vardu. He took on the onus of not only introducing everybody, but also putting his very valuable insights and inputs. And I think that is so critical for us as an organization, that we have an experienced person guiding us. And a lot of what we have brought today to you all has been because of the ideas and the strategy that Vardu insisted, let me put it that way, that we do. So Vardu, a big thank you from us, from, bringing together all this. He also guided us on what is the kind of help that we need to take in putting together the mission, vision, and our core values. A lot of you all have put in time
which Vardhu was talking about, it didn't happen overnight, certainly not. A lot of brainstorming, and there are too many names, but from the core of our heart, I wanted to say thank you to all of you all for the time you all took off from your regular work to give your valuable inputs, suggestions. And I think, as Mohan very well put it, together everybody achieves more. I also want to thank the five of you all who came forward and talked on the core values. I think I was right when I said you all are better qualified to do it. You all put it so much better than I would have. But I think what I want to bring here is, this is what we want. You have to understand, live the core values, but more importantly, share your experience with your colleagues. Each of you all would have had a personal experience of each one of these core values that would have touched you. Like Vardhu talked of the care and respect. It's important that that communication goes down to everybody. And what better way to do it if you share it as your personal experience. I shared mine when I said about George, and he's mentored me a lot. But I think the core thing that he said is, do things right and do things ethically. And as an organization, that is something that we have to be very proud of. The ethics that we have, and not just that, all the core values. So what I want to share is that you all are ambassadors, not only to the outside world, but also to the organization and the people you lead and you work with. This 3 days, we will be talking a lot of things, not just reviewing what has happened, but also to see how we can take things forward. And it is important that you take this back to your offices, to your locations, to your teams. And not just what has been, discussed or your presentations, but what you learn when we get together as a team. That is the whole purpose of bringing 40 of you all together here. We could have easily done it over Zoom. We are very clear that personal interaction is so important. So when Clarence, I think George was very clear, he told Clarence, just get everybody together, don't look at the cost. The idea was, we want you all to get to know each other, work as a team across locations, across business verticals, across functions, so that we together can achieve more. So thank you. I also wanted to thank the team here for the wonderful job you all did, and Maima and the rest of the hotel staff for helping us put together this hybrid, right? That's the right word? Yes. The hybrid version. Thank you.
So, tea and snacks are ready and waiting for you all. We will reconvene, it's 4:30, so we will reconvene at 4:45. That way we'll be able to go back, not home, but to the room earlier. Savan, Shubha. All right, so good evening to my customers. Yes, you heard me right. For the IT department in any organization, the business, that is y'all, are my customers and the customers of my team. That's what I keep highlighting to my team every time that whoever raises a ticket, whoever sends you an email, whoever calls you are your customers. You need to give them the same kind of attention, respect, just as they would have to do for their customers. Because I told them it's like a chain. Something goes wrong, they depend on us. If we don't support them, they don't get to support their customers. And at the end, altogether, we as an organization fail. So, just like every function head, this function also plays an important task. And we are going to look at what we achieved in the last 6 months, what is still work in progress, what were the challenges that we had, what is the roadmap ahead, what is the IT cost that we've got, right? Because like every department, we also have a budget. There are costs that we incur to keep the organization up and running insofar as the infrastructure technology goes. So we'll have a quick look at that. And then, of course, a couple of surprises at the end. So we'll keep it to the end. All right. So if you look at this slide, it just gives you a numerical view of what is the kind of or the quantum of work that we've spent in the changes that we worked on. So if you have a look, for example, BWL, 53 changes. Now, not all of this, of course, are major, showstoppers kind of changes. These are nevertheless changes that have come in. For example, in the case of BWL, either from Prasad's team, a lot from Ranjit's team, and specifically in the case of BWL, a very active trade or principals team based out of Taipei. So you can see where our effort is being spent on. And I trust this is in line with the kind of focus that the chairman and MD have said where we want to target. That's BWL as the primary thing. Now, that's not to say that we are ignoring any other systems. Priority is to be decided by y'all. Remember, the IT team is a fixed size team. It's a finite capacity. It cannot do everything and anything all at the same time. There has to be a maturity in understanding what is important for the business, what is important for the organization, and deciding where should the focus of the IT team at that point of time go in. So, I've tried to play my part in it, and Ranjit has been, really instrumental in playing a sort of a referee in deciding what are the changes that are there, which should get priority based on the kind of inputs you all have shared with him. Because I think every one of you all keep talking to him on an almost daily basis. So based on the business pain that you all are expressing to him, he has come to me and saying this is what we focus on. Every week, I have a fixed call every Wednesday, 3 p.m. with Ranjit. It would be good if other departments also have the same kind of practice. If you all believe that you all also have changes or business requirements that we need to implement in our systems to make sure that your department and in turn the organization and therefore the customer is being served in a more effective manner. So let's look at what are these changes, or rather not everything, but some of them. Now, while all of you all may not be using the leasing module, and I'm not going to go through everything, I'm just going to talk about a few of them. We've had a leasing module in the system right from long time back. I think it was there before I joined. George, in fact, also talked about this some time back to me, saying we have a leasing module, why are we doing something new? There's a whole lot of changes in the way the leasing is being done now, in the kind of functionality it provides, in terms of keeping track of which containers, for example, are running out of lease in the next X number of days, what is the cost that we are going to incur after that. So a lot of changes has been made to the system, and yes, while a few people here in India may be using it, it's now being used extensively by all our agents of BWL worldwide. It's just not restricted to India. Debt right functionality, we did something based on what the trade team wanted. Unfortunately, the person who's driving it has left the organization. And so there is some element of, let's say, quietness, while they relook at how they would want to use the debt fright functionality. So the debt fright functionality, as you may be aware, keeps track of what are the costs that we are incurring that we need to pay to all the feeders and the slot operators. It also has a feature which I do not know how many of you have noticed. It now shows in BWL booking for a particular vessel voyage how many slots have been taken and how many are remaining. So that gives an indication to the customer service team, are there any more openings that are possible to squeeze in some more containers? Or we need to tell the customer upfront, sorry, it's all sold out, full house. It's only possible on the next sailing. SOA, I'll let Ranjit talk about that. This functionality is something that he's been pushing for from a long time. It went through a number of iterations discussing how it should work. The principal or the trade team in Taipei were very actively engaged in this because there's an important commercial aspect to it. And after quite a bit of work on our side as well as Ranjit's team, Preeta and Archana, we've got that rolling. And I think last month, we've now made it mandatory for all agents, correct Ranjit, worldwide to start using the SOA module. Which means that, one, the effectiveness or the speed at which we close the SOA is vastly improved. Two, the effort that goes into prepare the SOA is now significantly reduced. From a 6-member team, it's come down. I'll let Ranjit know how many are now looking at SOA manually from his team. The quality or the accuracy of the data is now significantly improved because there's no manual intervention and hence no chances of mistake, apart from any lingering bugs in the system that are being looked at. BL print on plain A4 paper. Now this is very close to George's heart. He's been wanting us to look at why we should print stationery, incur courier charges to circulate it to all the regions, and then, have them printed. Why not print them on plain A4 paper or A4 paper with a specific specification? So again, we started with the idea of, okay, what's wrong in printing on a plain A4 paper? There's no problem. But then the trade team wanted to do something more. They wanted to ensure an element of accuracy and verification. And so, like what we did for the OBL printing at customers' premises, we introduced the QR code based verification that then gets verified at the POD by scanning the QR code and also looking at the mobile number, OTP, and verifying that yes, is the correct person who is submitting this document at the POD. So that's rolled out now, and as I understand from Ranjit, by January, 100% on BWL we should be with the plain A4 paper, throughout the world. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ranjit. Right? That's what we are targeting. Okay, I'm just going to skip over a few features. I just want to quickly touch upon balancing costs and integrated costs. So the trade team are looking at these two set of functionalities to help them arrive at what should be the correct costs. So the balancing cost is to look at the disparity between the export and import as far as the containers go, where there is an imbalance, and then look at seeing how much we need to take into account that imbalance into the area where there is a surplus. So in case export is surplus in one area, then look at putting in that incremental cost for the export side. The container integrated costs is an enhancement of what we did years back on the pricing module, which helps the trade team arrive at what is the accurate cost in order to arrive at what is the price that they have to give you all when you all ask them for a rate approval. So these two are reports that, or rather I would say reports, MIS systems that we've developed for them. Both of them are going through a pilot where they are checking to see, one, the system is doing the computation properly, and two, the model on which they have based the computation is correct. So I'm quite confident that by January, this should be fully operational, and hopefully they'll be able to give you a rate approval pretty quickly. I won't talk much about Milaha. There are a few minor enhancements that we have done. With the case of VANI, the first thing, WHL finance reports. So Noor's team was manually preparing a set of reports that they had to give to the principal's team every month. And seeing those reports, I could understand the pain that they were having in running behind different departments to get the data, to generate the data, and then arrive at what is the report and share it. Today, that's now automatically generated by the system. But, an important but, as we all know, if garbage is the input, garbage will be the output. This report heavily depends on the inputs of a few teams. And without saying any names, I just want to say those teams need to pay attention that they are entering the data accurately and on time. Any delay in that means that this report gives an incorrect value. What happens then is Noor's team spends time understanding why it is not correct. They raise a ticket. We spend time going through the code to see, have we got a bug? Then we realize, no, there is something that didn't enter this data. So please make sure that your teams are taking their responsibilities very seriously. Right? Whatever systems that we develop, there is an element of human intervention and dependency, and you all have to make sure that that is being addressed appropriately. Then there were few enhancements to import detention free time contract. I don't want to go to that. There was an enhancement to the peak shipping line inventory report. Again, I don't want to go to that. I want to focus on the next slide. Okay. So for CBS, for about a year, we had the 20 feet, 40 feet, the reefer, and some of you all were saying, sir, this is not, this number is not tallying, that number is not tallying. And then we came to the conclusion that, okay, special equipments is not there. So rather than go through an ongoing pain of saying, okay, this number is not there because special equipment is there. Special equipment is included now. I don't know to what extent you all use this in your reviews, but I sincerely hope you all are finding this useful. Then there was a long time request from the team in Chennai to include peak shipping. That is also done. Next on the plate for me would be inclusion of DENAUTOG's system. Finally, how many of you all have seen imports data on CBS? Okay, do you all regularly see it? I'm asking this specifically. Do you all regularly see it? And I will tell you why I'm asking this question. Okay, good. It's an honest answer that is not being regularly seen. Because there was an issue where the data was not being updated automatically. And I think Atul or someone, I don't remember who, said, sir, this data is not being refreshed for September. And that's when we realized that there was a scheduler that was not activated. Otherwise, no one ever came back. Yes, right? So that needs to be taken care of. Like we said, a system is as good as the input that it gets, and the input is manually done. So if that is not happening, then the output is not going to be good. Okay, so please do check. I would like to have your feedback. If you all feel that something more needs to be done on imports data. For now, we are at an advanced stage of developing the dashboard for the board. So I'm hopeful that by mid-December, they should be able to start using that. Then let's come to CRM. So there was a design flaw in the system, I'll have to admit, when it was initially rolled out, where the KPIs were not principle-wise. There was just a total KPI. So for example, total sales call, 40. But sales call for BWL, how many MHL, how many IL, was not there. So we got this done about 3 weeks. It's now, no, it's a month since it's operational. And based on inputs from Raju, we have also included additional KPIs. I'm not sure to what extent it's being used now, but I strongly believe that we should start using this from January. For this quarter, it's probably too late, but from the coming quarter, we have to start using it. Otherwise, there is no point enhancing and building a system if we are not going to use these features. Then, of course, we had DENAUTOG starting business with us. And it was a learning experience for us, for Deepak's team also. So we've been building the system in an iterative manner. I trust we are almost there. I know there's something that I still have to give to Deepak for the invoice, right? But we've reached a stage where I believe we are more or less now stable. And I trust that the system, therefore, is going to make their work much more simpler and easier. So let's look at some of the more common things that we've done. And the first thing in that is migration to a new server. I don't know how many of you all are aware, other than George and Lenny. We were running our applications on servers that were 10 to 11 years old, older than the laptops that you all were using. Thanks to the kind of care and attention Vasant and my predecessor who was there, ensure that they were all running smoothly. We had, I believe, a flawless performance of those servers. But we would have been pushing our luck if we were to expect that these servers will continue to support us for the next few years. And therefore, it was important to do this activity. Our intention was to do it in 2021, but unfortunately, COVID prevented us from looking at that. We had to focus on other functionality that was required to support the business before we could do it. And I'm happy that in May or by May, we've completed the migration of all our applications. It was quite a large challenge in terms of the number of applications. You all would have seen some of my communications. And unfortunately, while the migration went smoothly, there were a few issues that I will probably talk upon as I go into the next slides that primarily impacted Noor's team, and I will talk about that later on. But now we've got all that sorted out, and I would like to hear from Noor's team when I'm there next in Mumbai, what their experience is. Next is process view diagrams. Can anyone tell me what this is, other than Raju? Anyone? Is anyone? Sorry? KPMG, does it ring a bell? I hope we have not forgotten that. Right? Do you know what this does? Yes, the flow chart is there, wonderfully done by KPMG. But next, see, the idea of having this is to make sure, okay, let me talk about what this is. I'm not going to give a demo now, but you all can go back and see. When you log into your BWL business module, or IL business module, or Mila business, or VANI business module, under imports, you have one menu option. Under exports, you have one menu option. Click on this menu option. It will show you the entire process view that KPMG defined based on the discussions with you all. Right? And Raju realized the importance of one thing. These process diagrams are now our IPR. We cannot allow anyone to copy them and take it anywhere else. So we went to additional effort to see that those diagrams that you can see on the screen, that you can navigate, cannot be copied, cannot be downloaded. You can see it on the screen as long as you want, but you can't take it anywhere. And the idea of doing this is to make sure that anyone who logs into the application, anytime they have a doubt on, okay, I'm stuck here, what should be done? Their first point of call is to look at that. And if it is not clear, then they go to their manager or probably to Deepak Aryaseli. But I don't think that's happening, and that's got to change, right? So, come January, I'm going to give some time. I'm going to ask people who raise a ticket with me. Yes, Rakesh.
Comment here. Deepak has been interacting with the Navaseva operation team.
Okay.
Reference to Milaha and BWL processes. And what I will say, the process diagram gives a very basic idea of how it's done. But we have to have a solution given there, or process, or what the template has to be. We have to graduate from the process diagram to checklist and the template for different issues where we have to, what process we have to follow. It has to be well defined. Suppose if I have to change a POD, I have to go back to town. So it is not very much defined, where you have to have what all documents are required, what the process is, and what is the template of the letter. So that we have to graduate there. What I have been sharing with Deepak, whatever the issues comes and then solution what we have done. So I have forwarded the mail. So this I will request if it can be incorporated. So it gives you complete view that you don't have to go to anybody to seek any advice or attention.
Right. So I have a different view. We spend so many hours, so many days going through details of it. Maybe you were not involved in, I can understand the background behind that. But if anyone says it's not detailed, then I really don't agree. Now, if that is really the case, there is nothing that prevents Deepak from updating the diagrams after going through a proper change methodology that Vardu and Raju had defined. But the inputs has to come from your team, Rakesh. What is the checklist you only have to give? No one else is going to give. If you were to ask me, I'll come back to you saying, you give me the checklist, I'll put it there. Right? But it's got to be used. Because where there are gaps between the system and KPMG's process, that's what we are going to address in the next year. So the system will just follow what has been documented. So rather than someone ask, why is it doing like this or why is it doing that way, read the document. Makes everyone's jobs more efficient. Okay, can I have the slide there, please?
There is a process document. It is fully done. If you want a change, you have to go to the process team. If the process team is convinced that the change you are offering is required, they will go to the ultimate authority, which is Mr. Lenny, who looks at these processes and firms up. And once that is done, there is an official new process flow will happen and which will go to the system. Till then, important I think for everybody, if you're not following a process which is given, they will not be digitized. The changes, if it has to happen, for example, I think last of our discussion with Clarence was, no changes will happen unless process approves. So you got to discuss with process team and bring it to the level you'd want it.
Clarence, I think there's a slight gap here.
Yeah.
And that is, he's actually talking of having a detailed process put up on the site.
Okay.
I think that's what he's referring to, like an SOP in case they want to do something, whereas a process flow diagram does not go into that detail. But, right? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, right, yeah. Correct. By going through SOP, anybody can. Correct. So I think, so my point is whether we need to put it up there or whether it can be just a checklist at the, you know.
I would say, Lenny, my view would be, rather than have some parallel documentation, existing process diagram should be enhanced. I agree it may not be able to say everything, take left turn, take right turn and so on. But to the extent possible, it should be enhanced and complemented with these checklists that you are talking about. Right? But as long as we do that, it's good, because at some point of time, these business processes will change. As George said, change is constant, business process will change. If you have this across several documents, the effort to manage and maintain and make the changes is just exponential. It's got to be in one place where you go to, and then where it redirects you to say, okay, for this detail, look at this checklist, for that detail, look at this checklist. That's how we should do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is what we should be doing, while the process flow diagram will give the steps, the overview, the breakdown of that into the various steps can be a separate document and a link put there.
Yes.
I think that is what we should
Yeah.
be doing.
But first, let's start using what's there.
No, that's right. As I mentioned that Deepak has been there for more than 10 days and now as a
Huh.
interactive reference and BW processes. So we have contributed and the team has contributed a lot.
So, okay, so they are going through it. Okay, that's good. I trust all the other departments are in line with it. Yes, Raju?
I'll just explain for the sake of clarity to all on this point. The design for process is for all departments with the exception of only finance. The process flow envisages all possible scenarios that we envisaged in joint discussions with the respective departments, products, various functionalities, and design. Now what it lacks possibly is, let us say it says it requires, in this scenario, it requires an indemnity letter. Let us say that is the point. The format of the indemnity letter is not in a process flow. So, and we are exploring this, I'm just sharing with all, we are studying various websites. And one of the most preferred website we find is CMA CGMs. And I encourage from Ranjit and team and a lot of people to review the resource materials that is on public domain. And these are formats for all possible conceivable situations. And when we audited that, we found that the documents which are there and the link, the corresponding link for which they are trying to connect to a process, we have defined it. So to answer this query, the process flow is there. The second thing is what is missing is the reference documents. If there is a particular document in terms of formats, this is something that we will try to see, upload that also into resources. The third thing we are trying to do is, because the process document is signed off, we are auditing each department to see is there a deviation. And if there is a deviation, this will lead to a different level of discussion. So there are only 3 possible scenarios we are looking here. We would not encourage any deployment of SOP or process without the NOC of the process department. And as a reference point, and this is something that has come from the board also, any matter going to the digital, for a digital change or technology change, requires mandatorily an NOC from the process department. So I believe I can see a lot of emails where this has been reviewed and an NOC given. So I cannot visualize any enhancement now happening without the validation of process. Thank you.
Okay, Rita's data. How many of you all find it useful? Because last week I was in a conversation with Atul, and he says for the north, the level of accuracy of data is not good. And hence, he depends heavily on Gopal to give him his volume data of the market. So I just want to check and see how many of you all have the same perception? How many of you all feel that? Yes, Deepak? You can use the mic, please. Yeah, this side.
So I've been trying to find out more about the ISO tank business from that. And my first impressions were, maybe I need to dig deeper and see, but my first impressions were that, yeah, it was not sufficient enough. And maybe it's because they give more data about the other container business than the tank business, probably.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that maybe.
Yes, sir, Raju. I think there's one more mic, right?
So I'll clarify the relevance of various data sources we have, what we call as market intelligence. RETAS is one of the most widely used data resource across most competition. We also have informal channels where we collect TDRs from feeder operators. There are informal channels. But we need to recognize that in RETAS, there are participating lines and non-participating people. So normally what happens is a degree of maturity is required to analyze this data is you must have a view that if, I mean for name's sake, I'm not taking it as the right example. Take Van High. If Van High does not participate in RETAS stats, we need to really use our informal channels to understand what more I need to add as a percentage of their loadings to, let's say, a China, Southeast Asia markets. We will find that over a period of time, this judgment comes. So it requires a lot of data that is available. We can, of course, speak to the source and try to informally advise that which are the non-participating carriers. You can reach informally to those marketing teams and understand what is currently the traction they have for their respective sectors. So it's a combination. Please do not, in all absolute sense, see RETAS as the final record.
Okay.
Yeah.
On another note, I had sent out a mail, just 1 minute, sent out a mail saying that going forward, any local RETAS subscriptions are to be stopped and they will only be done from one location in Mumbai. So I trust if anyone were having any local subscriptions, that's been stopped. Go ahead, Atul.
It was not only about the carriers who are not participating, rather we found that BWL data, which is our own data in Delhi, was also not matching with RETAS, and even Omega, who is giving at ICD level, ICD data of those particular ICD for which we are giving them data was also not matching.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
That's something to be looked at. Yes, sir.
Clarence?
Yes, Mohan? Yeah, I can hear you.
I just want to add, RETAS is actually today possibly, at least for the South I know, it's the most available data where most of us are participating in. I think in Cochin and Chennai and other places, all the lines have actually been subscribing to this data. In fact, I mean, just to add, Van High, they don't actually give out their data. So basically that, as Raju mentioned, you need to have that maturity to know which ones are not providing the data.
And fill the gap.
And fill the gap. Other this thing is that you need to know is that even shipping lines like Van High, they depend on this data. Because Albert, who's gone to Vizag, they don't have this data and he calls me for this information.
Oh, okay.
So they use the same information as we use it. I agree with Atul that in Delhi, possibly, and if you can get data the way Atul is getting through Gopal, I think that's fantastic because then you know every container that's coming in and every container that's going out.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's can be painful, but we need to find a way of how to automate that because this time can be spent somewhere more useful. Yes, Vardu.
When we speak about RETAS and data, we have to be clear, this is probably the only a sort of accepted third-party vendor who provides this data. Now, when you go to your principal, there has to be some base on which you work when he questions you. As Raju said, okay, there may be about 85% correctness and 15% probably it doesn't support. But at least when we go and define a statistical information to principal, we can put these kind of notes down and explore your numbers to that extent. But at least you have a base document.
Right.
Which is very important. Now, for example, what Atul gets with Gopal talking about each ICDs and getting it, going back to your principle with this kind of a process of collecting data may not fly. Because it will always be looked with some level of moderations there. So my suggestion, Atul, is if it is very important for us this data, then we should interact with this Rita's guys and help him develop that area of numbers which is not accurate, and you have an accurate number. So, and it is Rita's interest
to also improve the accuracy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as a trade, we have some responsibility to ensure this develops to some levels, because apart from that, we don't have anything else. Unfortunately, but we don't have anything else. I don't know if some of you have tried. There is a government of India undertaking Department of Statistics, which is based out of Calcutta. So I tried picking up some of their.
I remember long time back you were telling me.
It is exhaustive. And out of that, to take it out and put it into your way is going to be very difficult. I think Rita has achieved it to a great extent. Help them. Okay. Not with any other interest, with our own self-interest. If they do well, and wherever there is a gap, Abdul and company can go back and talk to them to develop those numbers. It is good for us.
All right, good. So let's go back to the presentation. Yes, Deepak?
Now, unfortunately, it is a portal named Volza. I'll share it with you. But so the data that we get is basically they source it from customs data. Right? What we do not get is a 20-foot or a 40-foot specifically, but we will get stuff like what's the commodity moving, what's the shipper, what's the POL, what's the POD. We'll get tonnage, right? And then you can use some keywords to find out. For example, I've been using that for the ISO tanks business, right? And similarly, I've been sharing it with Raju's team. Desmond has got it. Mohan has looked at that data. If that could be useful, I could share that with you. But like
I will connect with you on that, and let's see. Maybe this could be, I do not know. We'll have a look.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. We've talked a lot about Ritas. Automated CRO and CAN. Now, I just want a show of hands. How many of you all have got feedback from your customers? Are they finding this useful? No show of hands, so no one is finding it useful.
So, it's
yes?
been very useful, and we have, it is hugely, the numbers are coming down, the people asking for the SOB certificate on the mail, because they are getting it online.
Okay, fine. And is that the case across south, west? Yes? Okay, fine.
Only new customers who are not registered. For them, my team is, whenever they are asking for SOB certificate, they are guiding them to register.
CRO and CAN will go for everyone. It is the onboard notification which is subscription based, deliberately done. That is something that they can choose to opt, right? I was just coming to that later on. The CRO and CAN, because it goes blindly to everyone.
Although it is optional for the customer, but for the benefit of my team, they are guiding the customer to subscribe it immediately, so that they are not getting the mails or the calls for SOB certificate.
Okay, fine. All right. Onboard notification via email and WhatsApp. What is the kind of feedback that you all have got from your customers? I will come back to the WhatsApp when I'm talking about my budget, and you will know why this question. So I just want to get a sort of quick, are they finding it? Yes, sir. And should we take it to the next stage, that is look at more notifications? Yes, Raju? No, it's not on.
Hello?
Yeah. Yes.
So, Clarence, we see onboard notification not necessarily from a sense of customers being delighted if we give them, but if this is automated, their pain is reduced drastically.
Whose pain? Our pain or their pain?
Both sides.
Okay.
So a sense of appreciation does not come for these messages, but the other way to see it is, we have taken it a notch up.
Less complaints.
Less complaint, and we have taken a notch up that they know, okay, this is something, this company is of a particular standard. I think for this is almost like we have done it for most, it's almost 70 to 80% plus. Except new
I wouldn't know, I don't track that.
Not the customer base, but the active customers, 70 to 80%.
Right. Yes. So it is in your interest to make sure your customers have subscribed to it. Okay. Then there was a feature that Ranjit was looking for desperately, auto update of vessel exchange rate, because he had someone dedicated to update the vessel exchange rate based on the daily exchange rate that would come from Noor's team. Now that's automated, so one less job for Ranjit's team because it's now being automated. Then we had a lot of functionality developed for the finance team, the new changes to the law on TDS. And on the second point, I'll just explain or expand a little bit. If you remember, I talked about the challenge that we had when we moved to the new server, right? That exposed some levels of inefficiency in our code, in the way it was originally designed when we wanted to generate party outstanding reports. And to be honest, this also came out in the audit. So it was a challenge one in trying to optimize the report so that it will come out quickly in order to, and also making it, stable. So it took us some time. We finally were able to crack it by ensuring that we've optimized the code to a massive extent. What was taking about 3 hours now, on an average, takes 15 minutes to generate. And earlier, Noor's team would depend upon the IT team to generate the report. Now they can do it on their own. And these two reports is something that I think his team generates not just day in and day out, hour in and hour out, let me put it that way. And so it was critical for them to make, and for us, that this is something that is stable and working, because they depended a lot on this to make sure books are tallying and we are in a position to answer auditors' queries. And then finally, this is something that I'm not sure if Rajna is aware. There was one feature on the consolidated ledger report that was surprisingly missing when we rolled out AFM for UAE. We got this up and running, maybe not in time for Vinod to help him in closing the accounts, but now it's operational and he should be able to use that going forward, as long as we are using the system. So it makes things easier. So, what's still in the works? Again, this is just a graphical representation of where we are getting most of the changes, right? What is still in the pipeline. And I hope the legend on the right is self-explanatory. And this is something that, again, Ranjit and myself review minimum once every week, sometimes even more often. So we look at what is pending, what is with his team to complete the testing so that we can deploy it into production and make it operational, and what is probably failed the test and come back to us where we have to give focus. So again, a request to all other departments, if they find that it's in their interest to have such kind of similar regular weekly calls where they would like to prioritize their changes rather than we taking a call and saying, okay, this is what we will do when, then let's have that weekly interaction. Because even if I forget, Ranjit will remind me, sir, we didn't have this call, we need to discuss these points. Okay, so let's look at some of the things that are in the pipeline. Now, the first point is something that Bhavesh has been very passionate and following up regularly with me on this. We have almost done with finalizing the changes or finalizing the requirement, and we now need to get it started. There was just one point of contention that I had with him. I am not sure if Prasad is aware, and that was his insistence that we support multiple HAS commodities in single container for Milaha. So I had a different view and perception. One, should we do that itself? Forget the system, right? And second, I told him that the volumes being so low, the amount of effort we would have to put into getting the system to support it is probably not worth it. Which leads me to a point that I want to talk about later, which is an ROI, return of investments. Payment gateway. So, Georgie, I am glad to say we got that tested completed yesterday. I sent a formal mail to Aparjit yesterday saying, please tell me what are the next steps. I bet after the long silence from our side, he has forgotten us. So we will follow up with a phone call and ask him what are the next steps to go live. Payment gateway is for everyone, right? So thank you, Noor, for the support. On AFM Malaysia, now just to give you a quick background, like with all our branch legal entities where we have rolled out AFM, our own in-house system, including UAE, we had to roll it out for Malaysia. There were a few challenges in terms of understanding what were the requirements. We've got it done. There are probably two things that we'll need to close along with the team over there, the BWL management in Taipei and Noor's team. And unfortunately, we missed this year's account tracking or bookkeeping on AFM Malaysia, but it will be our definite determination that we get this live well before April 1st, 2023. So I just briefly talked about CBS board members dashboard. That's an advanced stage of development, and I'm confident of giving an initial demo towards the end of the month. Then we have a lot of old IT assets that we need to dispose. So a point from Noor has been what you all are providing by way of data and what is in the system and what is even in their records, none are tallying. You all have to take ownership of this, each of your branches. You all have to make sure that everything is tallying perfectly. Only then we can go to the next step of engaging vendors who will do the e-waste disposal. That is the simplest part. But we need to get this. And this is something that we cannot push. There are many offices, including my own Bangalore office, where there are places where you can't walk. Right? Not only does it look awkward, it is a safety hazard by continuing to keep it like this. We have to get these things done and dusted. And we can't keep carrying over these assets that are not there, maybe there, are there continuously on the books, because there's tremendous amount of effort that Noor's team has to spend every year on tracking it. And I understood from 21-22, it is now a mandatory item, right, as part of the audit, to make sure that the fixed asset register is updated and certified. So I don't know, Noor, if you want to talk about that in your presentation, but I think it's important. Okay, and coming to the email migration. So all of you would have received a mail from me about our movement of the email service that we use from the existing service provided to Microsoft Office 365. So in the case of ABRAO Group, we are targeting for next Monday, which means that the moment you all go back home, there could be some level of inconvenience. And I know the following day for at least the north and the west, you all have holidays, 1 day holiday at least, which means that you all are a bit edgy, but we want to push this to make it happen, otherwise things keep dragging, right? And I'm sure, having used Microsoft's Exchange or email solution for several years, I know how beneficial it is, right? So, a level of inconvenience, my apologies, but we will hope that we get it cracked on 7th. And then the last thing is something that Raju had raised. Currently, outstanding reports don't take into account any credit that may have been agreed by the business with the customer. We are enhancing the system. We couldn't take it up for quite some time, and I will again talk about that in my challenges. But we are now enhancing the system wherein for every customer, a branch manager can request the credit amount and the credit days. Regional manager can approve it. Beyond a certain limit, it will go to the managing director who has to approve it. And when the outstanding report is computing the outstandings, it will take into account these credit limits that have been authorized and approved. So therefore, when you are following up with the customer, you don't have to be put into a situation where he says, sir, you gave me so many credit days, why are you coming back and asking me? Right? Okay, so here is a representation of some of the challenges that we had. Now, this is something that I track every day. Though it is monthly, I track every day. I use Power BI to give me the data. This is reported every week to the board and every month in my monthly review. The idea of having this is to see what is the kind of challenges that we are facing and where. Ticket raised may not necessarily be a defect, as we will see in the next slide here. We'll come to that. But the way I see it, when a ticket is raised, someone from your team or department is stuck. They are unable to proceed without the intervention of the IT team. And if they are stuck, it means the customer is left dangling because the job can't be done or completed. So it's very important for me to ensure that the systems that we've provided to you all are running effectively and smoothly. So I keep a track of the number of tickets that are being raised by you all and against which systems. So you can see every month I keep track of the trend and I look for spikes. That means there could be some indication of a problem, either with us from the IT team, or sometimes, as I have seen, a new user joining who's not got sufficient knowledge transfer, handover, and he's thinking that this is how the system should work, or he doesn't have sufficient knowledge, and at every step he raises a ticket requesting for help, which is counterproductive. So, my intention and objective is to make sure that these are as low as possible. So, I keep track of this. So, then looking at where the split is. Now, if you look at red, it's a software defect. And if you look at the gray line, it is service request. So some of a typical case would be, sir, container movement, it was updated as 14th January, it actually should be 13th January. Can you change it? There are different requests like this that come in, right? And I have the details of what are the kind of requests, from which location they come in, and so on. So, and the other thing is the brown line, where it is not a defect. So how do we categorize a ticket as not a defect? User may have thought that this is an issue. So another example, sir, customer didn't get onboard notification. Then we investigate why. Then we find out that either for that particular BL, it was not updated, or there was some issue with the BL, and therefore the notification didn't go out. So then we go back and say, look, this team didn't do the right update. Which means that so much time has been spent or lost by everyone in trying to find out what is the issue when there was actually no issue, or some team didn't do what they were supposed to do. So again, I can share this data with individual branches to see if they can see a pattern coming in from their branch where they think some improvement action needs to be taken. I'm not using the word corrective action, I'm using the word improvement action. Have a look at it to see why your team is raising the tickets. What is it that needs to be done? Do they need some additional training? Are they not aware of the process or of the system? So look at that. And on my side, why there are defects, right? One of the reasons is we make software changes too frequently, but that's not entirely a justified reason. Until very recently, we didn't have a dedicated software tester. There was total reliance on Ranjit and his team, which meant that the quality that was going out was not as good as we would like. So there are two things that we have done. One is we have got a dedicated tester whose job, as I told him, is to make the developer's life miserable by pointing out every mistake that he sees before it goes out to the business. The second thing is, because the systems are so large, it is not humanly possible to test every functionality every time. So there is technology where you can automate testing, which means that a few changes are manually tested, but the bulk of the testing is achieved by clicking a button. And so it means that if a defect is found, we identify it before it goes out to the field. So those are two things we have done, and I'm confident we should see a declining trend in the number of defects that are there. Okay, so I talked about some of the challenges. I talked about 2 points. On the third point, we had several challenges in terms of building up our team strength. We will come into the next slide where we've got our team, I believe. No, there is in the next slide after next. We had even one staff who had a life-threatening disease. Thankfully, that's been closed. And we now have an almost full house of team. We've taken on board 4 graduate trainees from Chennai. They will be joining us formally in Feb of next year. And this will help us even further strengthen our IT team, right? But at the end of the day, the IT team is a finite capacity, like I said in the beginning, you need to make sure that when you are rolling out changes, we are prioritizing what is really important for the business. Okay, so this is another thing that I do. What I look at is, and probably I'll just come to this slide, but I'll just focus here. I look at the output of a particular product. So if you take example BWL, how many BLs were generated in the export cycle for the given period? And how many tickets were raised, right? So I think it goes without saying, a lower percentage means that the business were able to operate without any IT intervention. So that shows that there is maturity among the team, among our processes, and among our systems. And that is the ideal scenario. All right? We want to reach that stage of day-to-day business operations being run without anyone looking at the IT team. Because every time they depend on the IT team, there is someone waiting for the issue to be resolved. So this is a trend of the ratio. So you can see when I started tracking this back in May 2021, where we were. We've had some spikes in the middle in the case of IL, but because their volumes are so slow, a small change in number makes a big difference. But you can see that gradually we have been able to bring it down, and our effort is focused to continue to bring it down further. Okay, so here is my team that is working on all the changes that you've got. Some of the names are familiar to you all. Some of them sit next to Sivakrishnan, and some next to Ranjit. So it gives you an idea of how big we really are or how small we are. Can I move on to the next slide? Okay, so like any other department, we also incur costs. There are costs that are incurred to run the business. This gives you an idea of where our costs are incurred, what are the budgets, where we have overshot. Have a quick look at this, and then we'll just look at some of the actual numbers. Right? Now, if you look at one line, software WhatsApp, just to give you some piece of information, whether we use the system or not, we have to pay 25,000 rupees per month to Facebook, the owners of WhatsApp. So, it is in our interest to make sure that is leveraged to the maximum extent possible. Right? And that is why I was wanting to get a sense of view from you all, whether you all are finding, your customers are finding this feature useful. Okay, so what's next on the roadmap? As I talked about, just creating Facebook, LinkedIn is not going to help. It's a living animal. We need to keep it alive, and the only way is we contribute to it. So, until and unless we have something actively ongoing and engaged, this is not going to. So, one of the things that we are looking at is to see if we can get someone who is marketing savvy with a digital background, who can say how we can exploit these social media channels to our benefit. Then we talked about KPMG. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. MFA, multi-factor authentication. I will give you a demo at the end. So that's one of the surprises. The next is business intelligence and analytics. We've got tons of data. It's time we start using the data to see and understand more about our business and tell us more on what's the direction we have to take with the data that we've got. Finally, single sign-on, right? Now, there may be some of you all who have logged into different systems who have having different user IDs to log into BWL, Milaha, Vanai, Interasia. I'm sure Ranjit and his team may be facing that pain. We are wanting to go live by January with a single login ID, which will be your employee number that you would use in any of your system, and the same passwords. What access you have will be determined internally by the system. So before we go on to some of the surprises, any questions? Anyone like to raise any points? I sense some tired faces, but it's okay.
BW tops all those ranks, whether it's a ticket raise, modification, or this. And the percentage, like you said, the employee may not be aware of the functions, and that's why.
Could be that is just one of the reasons.
When you compare all the lines, the BW comes each category at the top. So we would like to have your feedback. What is there where we can improve on BW?
See, one of the things would be, I would say from your perspective, Rakesh, and would apply for anyone joining the organization, there must be a planned induction and knowledge transfer. Typically what I've seen is the person has joined in late, so there's a lot of pressure to get him running on day one. So give him the user ID, password, okay, do this, do that. And therefore he struggles or she struggles, right? I'm not saying it happens every time, but that is one of the things. The second thing is, now the user is comfortable when things are running smoothly. The moment the system gives an alert, postcode not updated, therefore invoice cannot be generated. Please be aware, today for e-invoice, GST server expects PIN code. If that is not there, it will not generate. So we get a system pops up saying PIN code is not updated. He is stuck or she is stuck, they think it's an IT issue. Right? So this kind of awareness needs to change and improve. Right? There are many instances that way, which I can relate. And I'm sure Ranjit will be able to talk about them more if you speak. But we see many things like this, which needs to be, addressed. Yes, Raju? Huh?
Just a thought on the same perspective that you shared, Clarence. So let's say a user keys in and gets a message from the system saying that PIN code is not updated. Now possibly one reason is that the user feels that there is no way I can verify in the master whether PIN code is updated or not.
Agreed.
So I do agree a point that this need not necessarily go to an IT person, but whom should they call as a first assistance if the message flashes as something missing? How to check that master?
First point is, in my view, I think we all have to think about when our staff are stuck with the issue like this, who do they need to reach out to? What should they do? Should they read KPMG process view? May not help. What should they do next? Should they speak to their manager? In my view, the manager should be able to guide and say that we need to reach out to the documentation or the back office team to have it updated. That guidance, if it comes, things become smoother. If the manager is not able to share that information for whatever reason, he or she is not available, or doesn't know, or is not available, then this person is, they don't know. All they know is, okay, let's raise a ticket, let's see what happens. Because then the invoice is stuck. Customer is chasing, where is my invoice?
So is there a dedicated set of defects identified for posting?
For posting,
like
I didn't
this
get you.
PIN code is not updated. Is that defect
No,
message?
I won't say it's a defect. See, it's a warning message, right?
Okay.
It's a warning that you're trying to do something which is not feasible. You need to correct it.
The reason I'm asking is if
go
this
ahead.
message comes like this, that the PIN code
Yeah.
is not updated or this, it should signify please approach.
We've been trying to do that. So I gave this as an example. There are some messages where we have explicitly said, please contact back office team. So where we see this happening regularly, we are doing that, saying, okay, who you need to contact and reach out to. Yes, sure, I will do it. Yeah, I will. I will do that. Yeah. Okay, let's look at the surprise. Sorry. So yeah, Jitendra, can you have that ready? Now, before you come here, I just wanted to, I saw some of y'all in the morning exchanging your business cards, right? And I was just smiling to myself, okay, fine. Let me talk about something like this in the evening. The idea came from Vardu, saying, today we go with our business cards, right? Sometimes we forget them, sometimes we are run out of stock. And in today's digital world, why have a business card itself, right? Why take the trouble of carrying it everywhere? So we thought about, okay, what is the kind of solution we can have? And hence, I looked at various products that are available and found one that would meet our requirements suitably. There were products that came up with something a lot more jazzy, but between Vardu and myself, we ruled it out. Because that would depend, or there was a dependency on the internet just to go to the next step. So now, what this does is, if for example, Jitendra has that on his mobile and he's got that, can one of y'all, or would one of y'all like to scan the QR code on Jitendra's mobile phone? And just tell me what happens. So Jitendra, just share your mobile with that. What happens? Saved? Contact? Done, right? So we wanted to come up with a technology that allows you to very quickly share your business card. It's got your name, it's got your mobile number, it can have your landline, it will have your website, it will have your office address, it will have your designation. In one shot, everything gets saved on your mobile phone. No need of having someone to then scan through those cards, have someone enter it or buy a software. In one go, all of this is entered. Yes.
Call them anytime and they will know who is calling.
Exactly, right?
Otherwise, we will just throw away the cards.
Yes. All right. So, this is now rolled out. Joyce had over the last week developed this or produced this for each one of you all. I will be sending it to you when I go back to the room later today, to each of you all, to your individual emails. You all just have to save this, and the next time someone asks for it, you can show it. It's operational. Yeah?
Last year we had Dan Hartog principal visiting our office. Because of this COVID infection problem, he was also showing the same, and we just scanned his card over our phone.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So one of the things here is that it's not just a plain QR code. There is a branding of our group. If you see, the obvious thing is the logo in the middle, but you will also see at the side, on the three corners, our colors have been put up over there. The product gives a significant number of customizations of how we want to brand this. I thought this is the best way. I am of course open to suggestions so that we can always look at improving it or changing it. Okay, let's go on to the next thing. Now the next slide, and for which I need to do a live demo. I hope the internet connection is good. I talked about multi-factor authentication. Now, I'm sure those of you all that use Mila systems are very familiar, as well as those who use other third-party products. For a long time, we have a user ID, we have a password. I'm pretty sure these passwords of individuals have been widely shared amongst many people. And sometimes, Rakesh, one of the issues, sir, I didn't do this update, but your name is there in the log. Okay, how that can happen? We also do not know. We can only say, this name is there in the log, this update was done by you. No, sir, I don't have access. So, what we thought is, it's important now to control this. And therefore, I will give the demo over here on the of the product. I need to use my mobile phone. But from January, thank you so much, I would have taken it. Okay. So from January, we will be introducing this in a phased manner to all our systems, where, like they normally do, enter their login ID, enter their password. Then there are two options to proceed further. The first is they will get a code on their mobile phone using Google's Authenticator, right? So their login ID is tied on to their mobile number, and which means that they have to see what is their code that they're getting on their mobile number on the app and then enter that. If they enter anything else, it won't log in. As a fallback measure, we said, okay, we will also give an SMS based OTP, should they feel that that is something in case 4G signal is not there. All right. So let me move on to the demo. Just keep this phone here, 1 minute. Okay, can you all see the screen? Let me get my specs, sir. Just a minute. Thank you. Then I can't see, I have to see that screen. Okay, let me try this. So, I've entered my code. Now, just to show that this is working, I will just open an app here. So Rakesh, you will get a number here. You just read it out to me. I will tell you when to give me the number. So let me just enter an arbitrary number right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Let's try and log in. So it says authentication failed. Now I click on this. Says enter. Can you give me the number, please? 187623. Wait. Yeah, tell me. 424 419. Okay? So, from January, all that needs to be done is every user just needs to install Google Authenticator app from Google Play Store. We will be going through a registration process where for every user, we are going to get their mobile number. So when someone has to log into the system, he needs to use the app to be able to log in to make sure that it is he and he alone. Now some of the things that I need to look at is, we are going to do this only for our business modules. We are not going to introduce it for our online customer portal. Right? So it's going to be just for us and for our partners. So I don't think there should be a problem that I can see anywhere where someone says, no, it's inconvenient. Now, almost every organization is following this process of security authentication, and we should also do that. Sorry? Not all devices will be supporting biometric. So, for example, my laptop, yes, it has a biometric thumbprint scanner, but not everyone. Yeah, it's simple. Yes. So, let's try that. Let me log in again. Let's hope the signal comes. No, you will just get an SMS. You tell me what it is. Again, it depends on the signal. Any SMS comes? Give it to me. Yeah, tell me what's the number at the bottom, please. 090 917. Wait, did I type this correctly? Yes. So two options are there. There is the more advanced method, which is based on Google Authenticator, and a fallback measure in case you don't have internet connection and just have a standard 2G signal to get it. So this is what is going to be rolled out from January. So we will be sending out communication early December to go through the registration process for every user, so that effective January, we are able to make this operational. So with that, I come to the conclusion of my presentation. Yeah? No, this is our test site. That's why it's not HTTPS. That's why it's put as not secure. Yeah, yeah. So, any questions from anyone? Final questions? Yes, Shubha? Please.
Yeah, so today we launched our website and the other social media platforms.
Yes.
When we're talking about contribution, of course, the first step is where you contribute in terms of your articles or other newsletters for branding. But other way is the first step, and I think it's a baby step, but a good one, is where you subscribe and follow the group. I think that is the first step which we would request all of you to do, and also ensure and encourage your team to do that. Now what happens is that once you subscribe and once you attach yourself, for example, on LinkedIn as an employee, then whatever we post on our LinkedIn platform, so for example, if there is any employee engagement activity, or in between, we also keep posting our open positions. Now, when it goes on ABRAO website, it will be visible only to the followers. But when you share it, it'll get visibility and access to a wider talent pool in your shipping network, because we also assume that your contacts will be as many, and that will help us get the right and better quality talent here. Also, it is also a way of taking pride in sharing posts that we post on ABRAO group, and that is where the group will get more visibility on these virtual platforms. So since all our key managers are here, I thought, that is something that
Yes.
will be a good step to start with. It will help us in hiring, quality talent as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments, suggestions? No? So then, thank you so much for your time and patience. I know quite a number of you are tired. So, Shubha, do you want to tell what is the next?
Yeah, so next is a surprise where in the success of rolling out our vision and mission. Sorry. There? Not very fond of being in the center though, but yeah. So to celebrate the grand success of the launch of our vision and mission and core values, also a great day where we're out there launching our social media platforms and websites, which has been due, and we've been thinking about it for a long time. There's a celebration that has been planned where we'll be popping in a champagne, followed by wine and specially crafted cheese by Mr. George ABRAO. So we will proceed there from here, Clarence? Yes. Yeah. So if you look behind, that is where the celebrations are ready waiting for all of us. So I hope you have a nice time enjoying your wine. Champagne is with you. so wine and cheese will go there.
Yeah, so now is the time to relax. We'll have a wine and a cheese, and then we are going to have a small game of Tombola. So we can just be seated where we are and enjoy the game. All right? Yeah, we'll have it here. So, please, there are, which are the, okay, so just a quick thing. The table at the far side have two veg things, and the others are non-veg. Yeah, sorry, George.
Where is Tanya?
She just walked out.
Okay. Tanya